Οι συνεντεύξεις των διεθνών καλεσμένων του Comicdom Con Athens 2024 γυρίστηκαν στο φιλόξενο χώρο του Βιομηχανικού Μουσείου Φωταερίου της Τεχνόπολης του Δήμου Αθηναίων. Πρόκειται για ένα ιδιαίτερο μουσείο που αναδεικνύει την ιστορία του παλιού εργοστασίου φωταερίου που παρήχε ενέργεια στην Αθήνα για σχεδόν 130 χρόνια.
There's still some comics in Britain. For example, we have 2000 AD, which is a weekly comic. The Beano, which is a kids' comic, which is a weekly comic. The Phoenix is a weekly comic for kids. And this is one I currently edit. This is Monster Fun, which is a kids' comic that comes out every month. We've got some like lovely artwork. It's an anthology. There is still a comics industry, but it's a pale imitation of what it was 20 years ago, you know, where you could go to the shop and there'd be, you know, at least 10 British comics on the newsstand, even more, you know, in the 80s. So, yeah, it's not as big as it once was, but it's still there, and that's a good thing. It's fun. You have to do a lot of juggling, working with so many artists. It's interesting because since I've been at this convention in Greece, I noticed that the comic creators over here, they do everything. So they write, they illustrate, they letter, they colour. In Britain, it's a bit more segregated. So you have one person that will do the art. Sometimes they colour themselves, but quite often they don't. So you have a colourist, you'll have a letterer, and you'll have a writer. So it's all separate. So that's lots of different people to kind of juggle and get work from. So it can be tricky, but it's an interesting part of the job. It's good to have all these different styles and different people that you build relationships with. Judge Dredd is probably one of the best known British characters. Although funny enough, the creators, John Wagner, was born in America, and the artist Carlos Esquerra is originally Spanish. So it's quite funny that he turned up in a British magazine, but the actual creators aren't British themselves. Or John is Scottish now, technically, but I just think that it's been the character himself. There's been so many great artists and writers over the years that have worked on the character. It's an action story on the surface, but there's the political subtext to it all, so it's got more substance, which has always kept it relevant. And good humour as well. There's some good dark humour, which kind of we Brits love, and it seems to have translated quite well. But for me, I kind of like the Judge Dredd stories that are quite funny, and I still like the politics in there as well, which kind of keeps it relevant. And another interesting aspect of Judge Dredd for me is that the comics now, it's well over 40 years old. It's going to, in the blink of an eye, it's going to be 50, and the character's still popular. And what I like about it is that he ages in real time. So with these Spider-Man comics, like the American comics, like the Marvel and DC, Batman should now be in a wheelchair, or he should be in the ground. How old is he? Whereas Judge Dredd ages in real time. So I think when 2000 he launched in 1977, when he first appeared, I think he was in his 20s, and he's now almost like a pensioner. So it's interesting to see how the character has slowly and rather subtly changed. He's kind of softened in many respects, and at the beginning he was kind of like very one note, almost like a robot. He followed the letter of the law, but as he got a bit older he kind of questions the law a little bit, and that's what I find really interesting about the character and intriguing, and I think that's what makes him appealing. And of course he's got big guns and shoots lots of people. That's great as well. I'll be honest with you, I am absolutely blown away by the amount of talented artists I've seen in the last 2 days here. There's so much talent in Greece. I mean, I found this out about 10 years ago, maybe a little over 10 years ago. I was at a convention in England, and there was a table full of Greek artists, and I saw this bit of artwork, and it was a little bit cheesy. It was like one of the Marvel ladies, but the art was great. And I asked the guy at the table, "Who's this artist?" And he said, "Oh, she did the work." And there was someone at the back of the booth with a kind of hoodie up, just sat down drawing, and kind of pulled her hood down. She came over. She was a young girl. Well, that girl's Danny, who's now one of the biggest artists going. I kind of commissioned her straight away. I was like, I've got to work with this kid because she's got a real amazing talent. And she's done a few Judge Dredd stories for me. She's done a strip with me with a writer called Alec Worley called Black Beth. I believe the graphic novel's just come out in Greece. And it's just so wonderful to see how she's kind of flourished and how she's evolved. But yeah, I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I've seen so many good artists, and shame on me because I didn't bring enough business cards. I didn't think I would have to hand out that many. But I've found some really great people that I can't wait to work with. So yeah, I think you guys have got an abundance of talent. It's amazing. It's just about, I mean, the big issue is how do they get themselves in front of like the right publishers. So coming to conventions like this helps a lot. So for example, I found at least one person yesterday who I'm definitely going to be employing to work on Monster Fun. Yeah, I forget the name, sorry whoever you are, this girl, I've got her card, but she's great, so I want to give her some work in the future on the comic. And yeah, it's just about these Greek artists being able to present their work in front of publishers. And how that's done, I guess, that means them either managing to make it to like UK conventions or UK publishers coming over here. And I hope this is the first of many years that we can send a representative here and find new talent as it emerges in Greece.